Welcome, everyone. My name is Val Cushman, the Senior Director of Alumni Engagement and Inclusion Initiatives, and really excited to bring you this program today, celebrating William & Mary Women Who Serve. This program is being co-sponsored by the Association of 1775, which is comprised of our alumni who are veterans and current service people. Kelly Holdcraft, who is on our screen, is the lead and staff liaison to the Association of 1775, and co-sponsored by the Society of 1918, our collective of women at William & Mary who strive to grow the women's engagement, leadership, and philanthropy at William & Mary. So thanks to both of those co-sponsoring organizations. Today, we are going to have a moderated panel by Karen Wagner. Karen is a William & Mary class of 79. She has served 8 years in the U.S. Army herself and left Army service as a captain. She has served since then more than 30 years in the field of intelligence. She went on to serve through working at the Defense Intelligence Agency, the CIA, National Intelligence, and served as the Undersecretary for Intelligence and Analysis for the Department of Homeland Security until her retirement. And in her spare time, Karen has served on the SWIM Library Board and as a William & Mary class ambassador. So Karen, thank you for your service and for moderating our panel today where we can celebrate William & Mary Women Who Serve. Karen, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Val. It was an honor to be asked to lead this panel. You're about to meet some really amazing women, and I've really enjoyed already getting to know more about them. So I want to welcome the panelists, and I want to welcome everyone who's signed in today. As you probably know, the Commonwealth of Virginia is recognizing and celebrating women's military service this week. So we're happy to be able to piggyback on that. And so we want to send a thank you out to all William & Mary alums who have served, and a special shout out to all William & Mary women who have served. And in order that we can recognize and capture those of you who are on this call who have served, we're going to do an everywhere poll to capture, who you are, sort of your rank, your service, and your dates of service. So Kelly is putting up this slide right now, which hopefully you can all see. So we're going to try to see who's out there. So give us your name, your rank, your branch, and those of us who have ours already queued up are gonna send them now. So, and we'll watch a few of these pop up. And I faked you out, Val, because I did actually make major in the reserves before I threw in the towel. So usually it'll take a minute or so for people to get their text organized or make it to the website. We're going to give it a little longer so we can. Fantastic. Okay. I've never done this everywhere poll before. It's kind of cool. And at the end, we're going to take a screenshot of all of this that we're going to be happy to share with you so you can get the flavor of everybody who was involved. Good, Air Force, okay. Awesome. Okay. So I think we've got pretty much every service, because I know Kyle Cottrell's out there. She's a Marine, so we may not have any Coast Guard Coasties, but that's not too unusual. So I like that, Allie. Appreciative citizen. Army brat, excellent. There's Kyle. Okay, great. So that was sort of a a little gesture towards the military tradition of the roll call. So thank you all for participating with us. So now I have the opportunity and the pleasure to highlight another institution that is near and dear to my heart, as well as William and Mary, and that is the Military Women's Memorial that is located at the gateway to Arlington National Cemetery in Arlington, Virginia. And I'm a member of their board, and so we're happy to have this opportunity that William and Mary is giving us to educate people on this a little bit. So it's the only national memorial that is honoring and recognizing the service of all women since the Revolutionary War, no matter what branch of service or rank. And we want to urge all of you who are watching today, who've already kind of registered your service with us, to go to the memorial website and register your service with the memorial. We're trying really hard to register the service of all women who have served, and we've got an ambitious goal to increase our registrations this year, and it would be great if you could help us out. So we not only honor and recognize the service of women, we also provide education services to schools and other places to educate people on women's contributions. And we have a short 4-minute video that we're going to show you. So I would ask Kelly to cue that up now.
To the women who have served on active duty when the world was at war, let this memorial stand as testimony. Those who shouldered the demands of quieter times, to all women who have protected and defended this nation. Let it serve to empower women who faithfully serve in our military today.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. So now we're going to go ahead and kick off the panel discussion, and we have some amazing women here to share their experiences with you. And rather than me introducing them, I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. So we're going to go around, and I'm going to ask all of you to tell everybody who you are, when you graduated or will graduate from William and Mary, and what you're doing currently. So let's start with Erin.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to this event. My name is Erin O'Hara. I'm the class of 2021 at William and Mary. And I'm an MS4 or senior cadet in the Army ROTC program, the Revolutionary Guard Battalion. Currently, I'm working with my fellow senior cadets on the William and Mary Military Wellness Symposium, where we are inviting diverse leaders from around the country to discuss the 3 corrosives: suicide, sexual assault, and extremism in the military. And I will commission as a 2nd lieutenant in May as a field artillery officer.
Okay, great, thank you. Amy, why don't you go next?
Sure. So hi, everyone. My name is Amy Thurston, and a shout out to my fellow 1990 grads. I see a few of you all on there, so it's really cool to reconnect here. So what I currently am doing, I was Patriot Missile and Logistics or Quartermaster in the Army, but I'm currently the National Account Director for Organon, which is going to be a spin-off company for Merck for both federal, VA, DoD, and national hospital accounts. So I'm really thrilled to be here. This is such a special event. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Amy. How about Sam?
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sam Hunter, and like the other women, I am honored to be here. I'm a retired lieutenant commander in the Navy, and I graduated from William and Mary in 2018 from the School of Business with an executive MBA. I spent 25 years in the Navy. I served in both the enlisted and officer ranks before retiring in 2011. Currently, I am the founder and president of WINKS, a nonprofit supporting brain tumor patients and their caregivers.
Okay, great. And last but not least, Liz.
Hi, thanks, Karin and Val. It's an honor to be here, and boy, what a privilege to sit this panel with Amy and all of the rest of you all. This is just terrific. So anyway, Liz Train, class of 1978, biology and anthropology, dual major. I'm retired US Navy, 33 years as a naval intelligence officer. And after I retired, I became an active volunteer as an environmental educator for Fairfax County as a Virginia Cooperative Extension Certified Master Naturalist and Certified Master Gardener. I work with Fairfax County Public School System, Fairfax County Park Authority, and the Audubon Society of Northern Virginia to provide educational outreach for local communities. And my primary focus is sustainable horticulture and sustaining and improving biodiversity in the face of climate change through programs such as stream monitoring, gardening for wildlife habitat, edible gardening, watershed education, and the Audubon at Home program. The reason I'm so focused on this is not only is the environment my passion, but threats to the environment and food insecurity, water insecurity are tremendous threats to national and international stability. And I know that from my intelligence background. So I'm committed to continuing to work that in retirement.
Well, fantastic. As you can see, we have a very fascinating and eclectic group to talk to you today. And so I'm going to start off by asking all of these women to share with us what led them to pursue military service. So the armed services are still less than 15% female. So you're still making a non-traditional choice when you go down this path. And so I thought it would be interesting to hear from all of you, what was it that motivated you to serve? And I'm going to start with Sam.
So I can say in one word, education. My home life was less than ideal. So at 17, I decided I would enlist in the Navy to get GI Bill benefits for a college education.
Mm-hmm.
So the few years turned into a career, but I still kept my eye on my goal. And 13 years after enlisting, I earned my computer engineering degree. I also received my commission. And before I retired in 2011, I had also earned 2 master's degrees. Like anything else, life in the service had its challenges, but I look back on my first assignments as an electronic technician, and there were few women and even fewer women of color. And from the very beginning, I gravitated toward women for camaraderie as well as guidance. So not to say that I didn't have any great male mentors, because I did, but looking back, my leadership style and who I am today as a leader, I think I can give a great debt of gratitude to the women I served with. And so one of the things I did as I was retiring to honor and celebrate those women was I actually had an all-female retirement ceremony, all-women retirement ceremony.
That's great. That's great. I hope it was at the Women's Military Memorial, but if not, just the rest of you file that away. Okay, no, just kidding. Okay, so let's now go to Liz.
Thanks, Karin. When I graduated from William & Mary, I was fiercely independent, and that's probably an understatement. And I didn't want to go into debt to pursue graduate school. Without a master's degree in my particular field of study, anthropology and biology, I was unable to find any employment in my field of study. I was probably an idealist when I graduated. So I fell back on my related area of expertise and experience, and that was the outdoors. And I went to work for an outdoor outfitter in Charlottesville. I took a gap year in between high school and college, and I through hiked the Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine. And the opportunity to advance my passion for the environment and the outdoors and to pay my rent at the same time was pretty appealing at the time as my option. Well, I did that for 5 years. I was successful. I advanced. I became a manager and a troubleshooter, opening stores, closing stores for the outfitter. Money was good, but I lacked fulfillment. I was experiencing at the age of 28 a crisis of faith, basically, in myself. I was also suffering a bit of guilt because I was having a lot of fun, and I didn't perceive at the time that what I was doing was contributing to others. And at the same time, 28 was the maximum time for entering officer candidate school in the Navy, and my family has a significant service history and heritage. Father, grandfather, uncles. My parents had only four daughters. They had 4 daughters, no sons. My dad had just retired after 33 years of naval service, and something, whether it was guilt or taking on a daunting challenge, I'm not sure which one at the time, it was really tugging at me. So after taking stock of who I was, and basically sort of checking in my options, I still really wasn't sure I had a propensity to serve, because I was fiercely independent, and military life I wasn't sure was going to be for me. But I decided to pursue a commission in naval intelligence because I had read that while women couldn't serve in combatant and operational units, the US Navy was beginning to assign women to operational squadrons as intelligence officers that were land-based aviation squadrons. So I thought, that sounds like something for me. And so I raised my hand, took the oath, and I never looked back. 33 years. It was quite an adventure in my path into active service.
Okay, that's a great story, as they all are. Thank you. So how about you, Amy?
So for me, Karen, I grew up basically in the military, so I'm a brat. I grew up at the United States Military Academy, loved every minute of it. I think one of my good friends here is on the line, which is really cool. She did go to West Point. So a lot of great memories for me. And my brothers were in the military. My dad, my mom was obviously a spouse. So for me, it truly is in my blood. It really is. And right now, it's just one of the greatest things is to be able to give back to the military community. So I just love it and continue to do that really every day. So that's where really I gained that inner passion. It was just something like, hey, you're either going to be going to West Point or going to be doing ROTC somewhere. And I didn't think anything of it. I thought, you know what, that's awesome. Let's go for it. And I chose William & Mary, obviously. So
Yeah, that was my path too. So I really definitely relate to that. So great. Okay, Erin.
Thank you. Like a lot of the women here, I was definitely motivated to serve from my military family. Shout out to my dad who's on the call right now and his father as well. They pushed me to join ROTC, but throughout my time at William & Mary, I think I've made it my own. I've grown to love this military lifestyle. I think it's really unique that you get to like push yourself to be your absolute best every second of the day. I want a job that will challenge me physically and mentally. And I'm really excited to care for soldiers and develop them into leaders. I think we're all called to a life of service to others, which is something that women are particularly skilled at. And I can't think of a better way to spend my life than serving soldiers and Americans.
Okay, well, what a great set of answers. I think, education, service, legacy, I think those are the things that call, most of us for sure. So you guys hit all the bases. So now I want to turn to your various experiences at William & Mary and find out what lasting impact your William & Mary experience had on your life in uniform and beyond, and also how you are still involved with William & Mary now. Of course, we know how Erin's involved, but we'll want to find out about everyone who's left. So let's start with Liz on that one.
Okay, thanks, Karen. So if I could think about, there were 2 aspects of my experience at William & Mary that really were foundational in shaping me today and through my career. And the first was, it was just an exceptional liberal arts program of study that exposed me to many disciplines that I was able to see were related. And I was very fortunate at the time to have professors in every department I studied in and took a course in that well understood, well before it was a thing, the importance of that Medici effect, that of interdisciplinary studies and breakthrough insights into at the intersection of ideas, cultures, concepts. And the most important thing that I gained from William and Mary experience that served me well throughout my career as a foundational skill, and even today as I volunteer, is critical thinking and analysis. And a strong liberal arts education teaches us, gives us experience in how to do that. It wasn't the specific knowledge of what I actually studied or gained in my studies, but rather the ability to think and problem solve. And that has served me well throughout my career and my life and continues to today. And then I would say the second attribute of my William and Mary experience was the desire and commitment to be a lifelong learner. I got so excited about every class I took, every professor I had. I always felt a need to be the expert in the room in any topic. My family will tell you, I think I know everything and I want to know everything. But that drove me to, continuous pursuit of knowledge and wanting to share that with others. And so the intelligence field was perfect for me, being the know-it-all that I wanted to be. That impact didn't end when I retired. Both the undergrad and volunteer work post-grad that I did with William and Mary conservation programs, particularly under Mitchell Bird. Many of you probably know him. He chaired the biology department, was an ornithology professor back during my day, but really served as my source of inspiration in my volunteering today. And so my engagement with William and Mary, I am so grateful for that experience and getting me on a good trajectory for life. The opportunities that I have to engage with William and Mary through the Global Research Institute, through the PIPS program, the Project in International Peace and Security, the Washington Center, working with alumni through there and the students when they come up to DC for their 6-week programs. And I just really enjoy speaking and mentoring with William and Mary's students that are considering careers in the national security fields. There is a lot to navigate for those that are considering it. And I just feel very blessed to be able to speak with them, hear what motivates them, and to give them some some guidance and information and tips on how they might want to navigate into those various career fields. And I am so amazed and proud at the work that William and Mary students are doing. The Global Research Institute as an undergrad think tank is just phenomenal. And the work the students are doing, it just blows me out of the water. And I couldn't be more proud of my, my College of William and Mary. So
yeah, that's great. I know I read some of those papers. They're amazing. Okay, Amy.
Yes, so for me, Karen, I would say a couple of things. So for me, it allowed me not only a wonderful education, that goes without saying, but also the ability to be diverse. And what I mean by that is I was also a student athlete. So I ran varsity cross country and track 4 years all the way around, kind of no break. It allowed me to have an excellent education and then also participate in the ROTC program. And I felt like there was a lot of flexibility in a good way around all of that. So I really appreciated that. It's something that I don't forget. And then I take it with me really forward in everything that I do. And I would say the second thing would be just striving for that excellence that William Mary really instills in all of us, whether it was from ROTC excellence or from my track and cross country or obviously my studies. And that just is something that now is completely just instilled in what I do every day. So I appreciate all that. And I think you asked too, Karen, how basically what I'm doing now kind of connects with William Mary, giving back, etc. So it was really fun. Actually, about 6 weeks ago, we had a Zoom call with my track and cross country colleagues, which was really pretty neat. And obviously there's been a lot going around the William Mary athletics. So it's just been a nice opportunity for us to re-engage, which has been fantastic after many years. And then I do and have had an opportunity to connect with my professor of military science that I had. He was Major Hughes at the time, and I know Adrian's on the line here, Adrian from Germany. Shout out to her. But we had a great, what we call PMS, or Professor of Military Science, and we are back in touch. A lot of us are, which has been extremely a great thing. We all have that commonality. So be it track, be it ROTC, military, it always brings you back to a great experience like we had at William & Mary.
Right, that camaraderie just keeps on going.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay, so let's go to Erin.
So my only military experience has been at William and Mary. This is a really unique place to start that military career. I think William and Mary the student body is such a motivated, diverse, and caring group of people that I think will really prepare me well for a career. I'm also involved in the sexual assault prevention organization on campus called Someone You Know, and obviously the ROTC program. The Revolutionary Guard Battalion is such like a melting pot of incredibly motivated students and cadre. And I'm so thankful for every cadet, soldier, and officer that has helped to develop me to this day. Growing up here and being mentored by older cadets and then transitioning into that mentorship role myself is such a unique feature of William and Mary because of the small student body and close ties between the social classes. And I think my peers here really push me to be a better leader every single day. And I don't think I would have had as good of experiences or leadership opportunities at any other school.
Great. It's going to be fun to watch your career, Erin. So, okay, last but not least, Sam.
So I retired before I attended William and Mary, but what William and Mary did for me is it allowed me to extend my life of service. So I was diagnosed with a brain tumor in 2015, and I consider myself fortunate. And I say fortunate because I had my military retirement health care that covered most of my costs, and I had a great support system among family and friends. But I noticed others weren't as fortunate. And so really, almost immediately after I was diagnosed, I wanted to help others. And so I attended the College of William and Mary at the School of Business to learn how to effectively run a business. And that business happened to be, for me, a nonprofit. Currently involved in kind of two things. One is an extension of the other, but with the William and Mary's Diversity Leadership Circle, where volunteers focus on better serving alumni and creating action plans to better serve alumni in our community, as well as encourage engagement. And the other thing I'm working on is the Huon Willis Association for Black Alumni, often referred to as HWA. I recently assisted with modifying their strategy and helping them to better meet the needs of Black alumni, as well as foster a more supportive environment for current students.
That's great. Okay, so now I'm going to do some more sort of focused questions just to individuals to pull the string a little bit on some things that have been said, and then we'll see if we have time for me to inject an extra question. But so I'm going to go to Erin now, and since you're our only actual student, I thought it would be great if you could tell us a little bit about what is your day like as a full-time student and an ROTC cadet? And you had mentioned that you are focusing on wellness and sexual assault prevention. So if there's anything else that you want to tell us about your efforts in that area, that would be great.
Yes, I'd love to. So I do PT or physical training 5 to 6 mornings a week because right now I'm part of the Ranger Challenge team. We'll be competing at the International Sandhurst Military Skills Competition at West Point in April because of William and Mary's second place win at the brigade level a year ago. But last year's competition was canceled due to the pandemic, so we're going back for another round. We have a leadership class twice a week that we take with other cadets in our social class. So me and my fellow seniors, taught by our professor of military science, Lieutenant Colonel Malcolm, who's also on this call. Thank you, sir. And then once a week, we'll all come together to practice our light infantry skills in the Matoka Woods. Outside of ROTC, I'm active in the student-run sexual assault prevention organization that I mentioned called Someone You Know. Since my freshman year, I've been helping educate student groups and run events to raise awareness and advocate for survivors of sexual assault, particularly on campuses. Specialist Vanessa Guillen's death hit me really close to home this summer. And when the Fort Hood investigation broke, my classmates and I knew that we had to do something to further this conversation and be the kind of leaders that didn't let sexual assault and harassment happen. So we designed the William and Mary Military Wellness Symposium coming up in this April. We've invited speakers from junior officers to colonels, retired officers from around the services, and civilian subject matter experts to discuss suicide prevention, sexual assault prevention, and diversity and inclusion in the military. This new Army is definitely a better Army that's going to put people first and will be ready for any threat from within or without. And I definitely believe my generation of future officers, starting here at the Revolutionary Guard Battalion, will lead the Army in a better direction.
Well, that's great. And I'm really happy that you guys are going to be carrying that forward. That's fantastic. So, okay, so now I want to move to Liz, because she sort of downplayed her achievements a little bit, because we believe that Liz is our highest ranking alumni. We're not 100% sure, and we're wondering if this call might flush out some other people that we don't know about, but you know, retiring as an admiral, congratulations. We're very proud to claim you. So we'd love it if you could tell us just a little bit about your career trajectory. And of course, as one Intel person to another, I'd love to hear a little bit about being the first woman director of intelligence for the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, thanks for that compliment. I don't know if it's true because it's not something I track, but anyway, we'll
we don't track it either, obviously, but we
flesh it out. Yeah, I think you actually outranked me, Karin, as and friends as a civilian in the intelligence field. But anyway, so when I gave you my path into the Navy, and I decided at the very beginning I was going to take everything one step at a time, and I made a commitment to myself that if I wasn't fully satisfied, or I really didn't think it was for me, that I just, I wasn't going to just feel compelled to stick with it. And so I took everything one assignment at a time, always planning for branches and sequels. And I'm so proud of using that term. It's a joint planning term, and Army uses it in strategic planning and tactical planning. But most of my career had been about over half of my career was in joint commands. But in other words, I always needed to be prepared for something I wasn't expecting. And because when I entered the service, I went restricted line intelligence because combatant fields were not open to women. And my father even advised me at the time. He said, you might be considered a second-class citizen when you're restricted line. And I said, well, if I go unrestricted line, my only options are to be an admin officer. And I didn't want to be an admin officer. I wanted to be operational. And I chose intelligence for that reason, because there were opportunities for women to serve in operational units at the time, as long as they were land-based. Well, 10 years into my career, I was married. I was the mother of 2 toddlers. I had a number of land-based overseas deployments in my service record. My detailer or assignments officer called me one day in late 1994 and offered me a position on a carrier strike group staff, which meant I was going to be deploying on an aircraft carrier as one of the first women at sea serving on combatants. Women were at sea on ships that were not combatant roles at the time, but there weren't women in combat aviation squadrons that were ship-based or on combatants, destroyers, cruisers, aircraft carriers. And I was totally taken aback when I received that phone call, because I wasn't tracking the law. And I didn't realize that the combat exclusion law had been repealed that year. But I did know that this was a door that opened for me that I had to walk through. And it was terrifying and exciting at the same time. My assignments officer did say, didn't I need to check with my husband at the time, who was active duty and on deployment? And, we didn't have email and all of that time. And I said, no, I'm confident that, we'll be able to work this out. So that decision and opportunity led to a tour afloat as subsequently as an amphibious group staff director of intelligence, which is sort of the equivalent in the intelligence field of command at sea for, say, a surface line or a submariner or an aviator. And then I did an assignment as the Naval Intelligence Community Manager for all officer enlisted civilian naval intelligence manpower training, recruitment, and retention programs. And that led to me taking command of the Navy Marine Corps Intelligence Training Center down in Virginia Beach. And that led to selection to flag rank. Each one of those opportunities was a door that opened for women in the Navy. So assignment at sea, command, that I knew, even if I felt it wasn't the ideal time for me or my family, I believed it was about more than just me. And I wanted to be a role model for women in uniform to demonstrate that they could take on a military career, have a family, and be successful. Not easy, but it was possible. So my first flag rank assignment was serving as Director for Intelligence for the U.S. Pacific Command, and that's now, the name has changed, it's now the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. And it was wonderful to be back in Hawaii. I was born in Hawaii because I was a Navy brat. I went to elementary school there in Kailua, and I had two tours, military tours in Hawaii. So it was wonderful to be back there. And it was a really difficult but rewarding tour. It was 2 years of constant crises. I was directing intelligence assets in support of both military and humanitarian operations. And then when the tsunami, earthquake, nuclear power plant disaster hit Japan in 2011, Director Clapper, who was then the Director of National Intelligence, asked me to stand up and direct an interagency task force, intelligence task force, to support the combined military operations should there have to be a mass evacuation of Americans out of the country, and to support the military operations and to support the nation of Japan in decision making and fighting that terrible nuclear power plant disaster. And there are a lot of national intelligence assets that were very capable of assisting that humanitarian operation. And it was very difficult, very rewarding. It still, to this day, I consider that the most rewarding work I've done. My Japanese counterparts and friends still remain so grateful to our nation today for the assistance we gave them. And that prepared me very well for my follow-on assignment, which was Director for Intelligence on the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff. And I was the first woman J2, the position is known as the J2. And as the first female J2, I really didn't feel any different than my J staff counterparts. But I did notice every time I sat around the table with the senior staff and the director that I was the only woman at the table. And sometimes I wasn't heard as often as I would have liked to, as I experienced my male counterparts around the table were. And when Nora Tyson, now Vice Admiral retired, and Michelle Howard, now Admiral retired, joined the staff during my tour there were three of us, and the voice of the three of us around the table as senior flag and general officers on that staff noticeably made a difference. And it was a tremendous experience. And I'll just say it was educational for me, and it was educational for my male colleagues and staff mates. If anyone knows Nora Tyson and Michelle Howard, they are really powers to be reckoned with. So it was fun, and it was rewarding, and it was educational for everybody. And the staff was the easy part, but a lot of my duties involved interacting with other agencies and institutions. The Hill, I had to go give testimony to the Senate and Congress, work with Hill staffers. I worked with other agencies, other institutions which weren't as accustomed to interacting with senior women. And so it was kind of an adventure. I will say that one exception to this was my interaction with the Director of National Intelligence, Director Jim Clapper, and his staff. When I sat at the table, and Karin, I think, can back this up, at those weekly meetings, the male-female ratio of seniors around the table was 50-50. Director Clapper was very committed to diversity and inclusion, and all of his policies reflected that. And he made tremendous inroads along those lines.
Yeah,
And
he was a
that's
big
how-
believer in
yeah,
women.
just
So,
amazing.
okay.
That's how I met Karen.
Yes.
So
All right. Well, thank you, Liz. That was great and inspirational. So now I want to turn to Sam and just pull the string a little bit on the daunting undertaking of establishing your own nonprofit. And you mentioned that a little bit, but I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about that.
I would be glad to. Daunting task indeed. Within weeks of my personal experience with the brain tumor, I had already decided that I wanted to help others. And so, literally 6 weeks after, I went to a lawyer and stood up the corporation and started filing for the trademark. And that was in 2015. Eventually, I left my job as a cybersecurity manager and started the nonprofit in 2019, which is still currently all volunteer. So like this is the extension of my service. The facts of a brain tumor can be so devastating. It takes such a huge emotional, physical, cognitive, and yes, financial toll on patients and caregivers because often we are under care for the remainder of our lives. And I consider I told you I considered myself fortunate because my brain tumor wasn't as aggressive as some, and I had all the resources in place to help me get through my journey. Our mission as a nonprofit is to help enhance the quality of life of brain tumor patients as well as their caregivers, because it takes a toll on the caregivers as well. We offer a support group every other month. We also provide key information like what research is happening today or what clinical trials are out there that you can apply for. And we just started at the end of 2020 awarding grants to help those who are in financial need. And I'll just leave you with this thought as people tend to support issues that are near and dear to their heart. And while there are approximately 700,000 Americans living with brain tumor, with probably another 84,000 who will be diagnosed this year, that's small, relatively speaking, to our population here in America. And so often people don't personally know somebody who has a brain tumor. And then you add the fact that we were established in 2019, end of 2019, and COVID started at the beginning of 2020. It has indeed been quite a challenge. But I say all that to say we are still very optimistic. You know, as word gets out about what we are trying to do and the people we are trying to help, the more support we receive. So opportunities like this help greatly. And so I thank you. I thank Valerie for allowing me a time to share a little bit about our organization.
That's great. I was actually talking to a former colleague from DHS yesterday who told me he had had a brain tumor in the interim. So I do know somebody, and that's amazing. So, okay, so now we want to go to Amy and talk about sort of support for veterans in the workplace. Support for them has grown significantly in recent years, and women are the fastest growing veteran demographic at about 10% of the veteran population, just to throw that out there. So can you just tell us a little bit about your involvement in supporting veterans and anything that's particular to women, or it may just be about all veterans?
Sure. So I had a really neat opportunity, and I'm currently at Merck. I've been there for 22 years, which time goes so fast. Oh my goodness. But I had a great opportunity for 2.5 years. I was asked if I would run our Veterans Employee Business Resource Group. And initially I was like, okay, sure, let's do it. I'm supporting our veterans, I'll do it. But it's one of 10 employee business resource groups. So there's one for women, there's all sorts of different Asian descent, etc. It's wonderful. They have all different support groups. So I led the veterans group, and it was something that I did voluntarily. So it wasn't my day job. It wasn't something I was getting paid for. But my whole point of being is we would give back. So to veterans specifically and their families, spouses, etc., friends of. So importantly, what we did is we had about 1,000 members. So I led that group. It was global. And what we would do, and I loved every minute of it. I'd stay up late to do what I needed to do after my hours job. We would send packages to deployed, and not just those that were at Merck, but deployed around the world, Africa, Afghanistan, Iraq, etc. We would send packages. My company would actually allow us, they would pay for the shipping, which is fabulous. So we would get and ask for donations of non-perishable items, and even things like socks and food and pogey bait, as we called it in the Army, right? So we that was all. And I know when I was deployed to Desert Storm, it was awesome to get anything, even a letter. So I actually had some cards made that were made on behalf of Merck, but it was thank you for your support for veterans. And we sent thousands of letters to all these folks deployed, to the USOs, to the forward operating battalions, etc. And I have to tell you, that was hands down my best job, even though it was my day job. But some other things that we currently do to support is things like offering, not only just for women, but for all of the veterans, to just opportunities to ask questions. There's so many things that are confusing, like VA health benefits. How can that benefit your grandfather, your mother, your father, your loved ones? So we would offer educational opportunities that were completely, of course, free to employees and others that wanted to join as well, just to learn about what those benefits would be. And they're from, for an example, a VA employee. So it was coming right from the horse's mouth. And then we do other opportunities. One wonderful opportunity that I did partake in, which I'm looking forward to signing up again, was it's called Tour of Honor. And what my company did is we sponsored a bus, and I had the lovely opportunity to sponsor an 85-year-old Korean War veteran. And what we did is, on that bus, it was full of World War II, Vietnam, Korean veterans. I mean, I would have people thank me for my service, and I'm like, please do not thank me. Thank this gentleman and this gentleman and this lady, etc. It was just so gratifying. So I basically escorted that veteran, as did members of my company, to DC, so they could see all of the national monuments. And most gratifying day that I've had, and they do it every year, a couple times a year. So I encourage folks to do that. So those are some things that my company did, they allowed me to do, and just things that I would brainstorm about what can we do, and wanting to do more. And then currently I still volunteer. I'm not in that voluntary role anymore. It's a kind of a reciprocal or rolling opportunity, if you will. But I do things like work with Travis Manning Foundation. I'm a character leader for them, so I can speak where we speak to young children about leadership and character, and why character does matter, etc. And do this all voluntarily. I do it just because I love it, and I don't want anything from it. I simply just want to give back. So those are just some examples.
That's great. Thank you. So, well, thank you all so much. So obviously I'm not going to get to my hip pocket question because we timed this perfectly. But so on that final note of support to veterans, that's a great segue for me to introduce Bob Merkel, who's a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel, and he is currently the Special Assistant to President Rowe for Military and Veterans Affairs. And I hope all of you on the call know that we had a fantastic anonymous $10 million gift from an alumna and a member of the Society of 1918 to help William and Mary support current service members and veterans. So Bob's role is to coordinate all of the various initiatives at William and Mary that support current service members and veterans. And he is here today to give you a little bit of an overview of what some of those efforts are. So Bob, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Before I give the overview of the William and Mary Vet Program, I wanted to reflect on some comments that were made in this forum that really made me think. Erin said something wonderful. She said that her generation will lead the Army in a better direction. And Amy said something interesting to me when she said that West Point was such a wonderful experience for her. And so I think I've been almost a laboratory in the effect that women have had on the military in my lifetime. I went to West Point in 1971. It was an all-male environment. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, it was miserable. I did not enjoy it. I did not share Amy's, take on what an experience at West Point was like. I had the opportunity to go back again in 1981 to teach economics to cadets. And women had been at West Point at that time for 7 years. And much to my amazement, West Point had changed radically. It had changed from an organization that was characterized by competition and scarcity to one that was characterized by collaboration and abundance. And it caused me to think about what could cause such a profound change in an organization that had been there for 200 years, unencumbered by progress. And it occurred to me it was because women had been there for 7 years and they had already changed the culture of the institution. My third data point was when my son went to West Point. He's the class of 2002, and he's in Delta Force now as one of our Sabre and Squadron commanders. He loved West Point. He thrived in that environment. He was surrounded by female role models, by superiors, by instructors, by a commandant of cadets who was a female. And it just really reinforced to me what Aaron said is exactly true. Not only will women take the Army in a better direction in the future, they've already taken the Army in a better direction. So the other thing that I wanted to comment on is I've been reflecting on this call that the four most influential women in my life have served in the military. My mom, my ex-wife, they were both spouses of career military, and my two daughters both went to Georgetown on ROTC scholarships. It wasn't for my oldest, and she dropped out of the program, but she's been a career civil servant in our State Department. And my youngest daughter is still a military intelligence officer, a lieutenant colonel that's in the NSA on her day job. And so I have a great deal of respect and gratitude for the women participating today, for all you do for your families, for your communities, and for our nation. And I have to say, you're all just amazing role models. And so having said that, very quickly, here's what we're trying to accomplish with the William and Mary Veteran Executive Transition Program. It's four major things, easy to remember. The first is to optimize the veteran experience here at William and Mary. And when I tell people that, what I say is what we're really trying to do is get some common situational awareness among all of the various entities that are helping our veterans across the community so that they can do what they do more effectively and more efficiently, and more importantly, so that they can do it more creatively. Through nobody's fault, everybody's out there doing God's work, but most of the time they don't know what each other is doing or how they can help each other better. So that's step number one. And William and Mary really is an abundance of riches. So it's not inventing anything out of whole cloth. It's just bringing people together in different ways to communicate and collaborate. Point number two, which will really differentiate our program, is we're building in the component of holistic wealth or holistic health into everything we do. It's not just the focus on the technical competencies. And as most of you who have been in the military know, one of our blind spots is we're really good at knowing what we are, and we're really bad at knowing who we are. We spent our whole career in the military executing missions, and we really don't spend a lot of time reflecting on who we are as a person, where does our passion lie, how do we connect that with our future careers, how do we find the right organizations to really manifest that passion into the world. And so we're using the Center for Mindfulness and Authentic Excellence and Kelly Crace and his great team to build into our programs that component that not only gives you the professional toolkit, it gives you the personal toolkit to be successful. The third component of the program I call building a network of networks. And that's why I'm so grateful to be able to talk to this wonderful organization today. I will talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime about what we're trying to accomplish here at William and Mary. And at the end of the conversation, I tell them, now you know who I am and what we're trying to accomplish. And now I know who you are and what you do for vets. And I want you to make me a promise. I want you to open up your networks to me, and I'll open up my networks to you. And it's not so we can help each other. It's because every day a veteran calls me up and says, Bob, I've heard about your new role. I have this issue. I need this help. And now I know someone who can help them, or I know someone who knows someone who can help them. And we're expanding that network of support, not geometrically, but logarithmically. And then the final piece of this program that I really like to emphasize is the executive and the executive transition piece. We're not interested in being a meat market. I'm not interested in quantitative metrics. William and Mary is known for a certain quality of its DNA, for certain core values that its members share. And it resonates every time I see a group of William and Mary people get together. We want to maintain that quality, and we want to attract more of it into our programs. We want to give them the tools to be personally and professionally successful. We want to open up doors of opportunities to them through the networks. And we want to set them on a path to leadership and executive success. And when they are successful, we're going to ask them to pay it forward by giving it back, by being the mentors, the coaches, the providers of internships, and the financial supporters of our program in the future. So when anybody asks me, what are we trying to accomplish here? It's those four things. I mean, there's some guiding parameters that we're using to build the program. I think we're too Army-centric. I want to expand that. I think we're too officer-centric. I want to expand that. I think we engage veterans too late in the process. We focused on transition. I want to get into the education centers, and I want to link up with young soldiers and develop a lifetime association with them. And so it's all those sorts of things that are really going to make this program unique. And I think we have the opportunity collectively to build something that will be a blueprint for communities and universities across the country. So Karen, again, thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And I want to thank all of the panelists. You guys are awesome. You make me feel so good about the future of the service, and also about how those of us who have spent some time in the trenches are giving back. So this has just been great. And I thank William and Mary for the opportunity, and all of you women who are serving or have served, do not forget to register at the Military Women's Memorial. And so that's all I have, Val, unless you have any final words.
Well, my final words are two. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'll repeat it again, for your service and for those joining us today to celebrate the service of William Mary Women. As you may have seen in the chat, we have learned, Liz, that it appears that you have been outranked by another William and Mary woman, and we will research that to affirm, but we're happy to hear that news. So retired Lieutenant General Gina Grosso, MBA class of 92. So we'll affirm that, but I know likely this is the one time then you're happy to be outranked. And in the meantime, thank you to our panelists. Thank you to everyone for your service and for those who joined us today. Everyone have a wonderful evening.